So the text of your memo is going to be single spaced, but between the headings and paragraphs you're going to double space. You're going to skip a space. You do not indent that first line. You skip a space before moving on to the next paragraph. So I think at the Purdue OWL, let's see if they have an example. Sample memo. Here we go. Just like that. So you see that the left margin is blocked, and then they skip a line, header, skip another line, more text, right, skip a line, header, skip a line, text, no indentions or anything like that. So there's a sample kind of format there for you. And you will have, right, the standard memo header right there. Who is it to, who is it from, the date, and then the subject. So whatever title that you give your memo. What's most important in a memo in the first part of the organizational structure of a memo, there are some initial questions that you kind of need to answer. Basically, just like a journal article, you need to tell your audience what you are doing, why you are doing it. In a memo format, if you're doing it, if you're working on a collaborative document, then you need to mention the other, I guess, team members. So that's kind of like the who else is working on this. Sometimes answering when and where is important, but not so much with this. You don't need to tell me when you're working on this or where you have been working on this, because you'll be working on it on your computer. But sometimes that might be important in other memorandum assignments that you might be working on for this class or for this class, so keep that in mind. But basically, the first paragraph number 1, this is what you're doing. You're telling me what you're doing and why you are doing it. So, all right, let's see. So, what's the assignment that you're working on? For this one, you know, what journal perhaps are you using? What articles are you comparing? Of course, why? What articles are you comparing? Why? What's the assignment? Here I'm looking for a summary. I want to make sure that you understand what it is that you're supposed to be doing. So if for some reason this critique is totally wrong, I can look at your summary and say, oh, you didn't really have a good idea of what you're supposed to be doing anyway. So if you can paraphrase or summarize the assignment, that's it's kind of a good indicator, I guess, right there, and it helps you keep focused also. So what are you doing and why are you doing it? That's probably the basic information, I suppose, right there. So that's usually the introduction to a progress to the memorandum format, I suppose. And then the next paragraphs are what are indicated right here, right? First, second, and third. Now you can probably do these all in 3 paragraphs. They might be kind of long paragraphs, but it's totally possible. 1 paragraph for this, another paragraph for this, a third paragraph for that. You can if you want to. You do not have to. That's really not all that required for that. It's just your discussion, right? And then the final paragraph, your conclusion. Typically in a memo, you are in your conclusion, you are asking your audience, asking your readers how you want them to respond. You know, call if they have any questions, request a reply, provide a list of recommendations. That's typical for a memo, but for this one, your conclusion is going to be is going to be this third part, right? That is going to be your conclusion for this assignment. But again, just so you know, memos could be a little bit different right there. What I like about the memo format is memos can be either really, really formal, or they can kind of be a casual conversational tone. I want you to have in mind, I guess, the audience of a coworker or a colleague. So this is who you're writing this for. Even though you're writing it for me, this is kind of a hypothetical audience that I want you to have in mind. So you can adopt a casual conversational tone. For this particular critique. You want to be seen as friendly, cooperative, a tone like that, I suppose. Because one thing is, probably I may not be familiar with this journal that you're working on, so I think I'd rather have a casual conversational tone if you're introducing something new to me in the first place. Let's see. Okay, so then in addition to this critique, you're going to be sending what is called a cover memo. A cover memo is it's another memo. It's going to be addressed to me, and usually a cover memo is just going to be one paragraph, and these are the questions that I want you to answer. So one paragraph. Well, you know what? Let me take that back. 1 to 2 paragraphs. I'll give you a little bit more room if you need that. 1 to 2 paragraphs that answer these questions, and I want you to answer them again in paragraph form. So the first question is, so what was the most interesting thing that you learned about academic communication in scholarly journals? What was the most difficult part about completing this article critique? And then how did you resolve that difficulty? So those two questions, just in a memo addressed to me. This will help me get into your head a little bit about this assignment, something that you did well, and something that you had difficulty with. So actually, let me add in that question. What do you think you did particularly well? Okay, yeah, there we go. What was the most interesting thing you learned about academic communication in scholarly journals? Number 2, what do you think you did particularly well for this assignment? And number 3, what was the most difficult part? Yes, I like those questions. Those are good questions. That'll help me get inside your head a little bit and give me a better understanding of where you came from. And I think that'll help me evaluate your writing. Give you some more targeted feedback, I suppose, on what it is, what you struggled with, and what you think you did really well. So let's see. I think that is it for today. Then talked about the assignment, how to find the 2 articles, how to write it, and then the cover memo. So again, this isn't due until October 1st. You still have a couple of weeks, and so but I want to give you time to find a couple of articles, read through them, and do some writing. In the meantime, what you're going to be doing also is doing some more research process questions for 2 articles. One is going to be a scientific article, again to work more on the your critical reading process. Another one is going to be for popular scientific articles. So there are going to be a few different questions for those, but you can be working on that also. Next week we'll talk about the popular science article. And there are a few different things. The directions are a little bit different with that one. You're going to be talking and thinking about metaphors, and particularly in that one. That one's a little bit shorter than this one. But we'll talk about that next week. I think you have plenty to do over the next couple of weeks. And then, of course, start reading Black Ducks and Salmon Bellies. We're going to start our discussion on ethnography next week.